What's up everyone, we're going to be going through the best NBA player props on PrizePicks today. Now don't forget to like this video as it does let me know to continue to give you free picks every day. So make sure to like this video clicking that button down below. And if we get 500 likes, I will do another video for tomorrow. Now I did want to show you the results from yesterday's picks from my exclusive Discord group. And as you guys see, we actually got 21 picks correct, which is absolutely insane. Now a lot of you comment wanting to see how many I got wrong, and I thought I'd show you in today's video. We only got one pick wrong, got 21 right, which is a 98% win rate. Yes, guys, you heard that right. 98% win rate. So we're on a huge hot streak, but if you want to get a 98% win rate and get 21 picks right like me, win more bets and receive the best picks from some of the best bettors in the world for less than a cup of coffee, you can access the exclusive Discord and meet some of the best sport bettors in the game by joining my Patreon. Should be linked down below in the description. Once you join, you'll have complete access to the Discord and can start winning more bets today. So make sure to join my Patreon using the link in the description. And here's one of our members who just signed up and won himself $200 just yesterday. Another member who won $740 for the 5th day in a row since joining my Discord. So guys, if you want to win big money like our members, the link will be in the description. So go join the Patreon to have access to the Discord group. And I'll be continuing to upload every single day on this channel the best bets and props. So make sure to subscribe so you don't miss my daily uploads. So quick shout out to Charlie Crisp 61 who said ready to cash. And also shouts out to Matthew Remel 2069 who said let's go. So shouts out to them, and if you do want to win a shout out in the next video, all you have to do is comment down below in this video and like it, and you can be in the running to win a shout out in the next one. Alright, so let's get straight into the first pick. And when it comes to these picks, I'm not saying to chuck all of them into a parlay and hope for the best. Pick and choose the ones that you like and the ones that work best for you. So the first pick we're going to talk about is Kamara for 5.5 rebounds, and this one actually is for less. Now, when we actually look at this, we do see that Kamara has actually gone on the under in 3 out of the last 5 games. Looking at those 5 games, you see on January 6th, faced off against Utah Jazz, had 4 rebounds there. January 8th, faced off against Houston Rockets, had 6 rebounds in that matchup. Then 2 rebounds against Houston Rockets on January 10th. And January 12th, faced off against the New York Knicks, had 6 rebounds there. And then January 14th, faced off against the Golden State Warriors and had 4 rebounds in that matchup. So we have actually seen, when it comes to Tumani, we have actually seen him be able to go on the actual under here, quite consistently. And his average over the last 5 is also 4.4. So it definitely has been a little bit of a struggle for Kamara when it comes to reaching this line. But that definitely does work out in our favor, as we do like the under for this. But we do know that Portland Trailblazers find themselves in a very good matchup against none other than actually Atlanta Hawks. So it is definitely going to be an exciting game there for sure. Now looking at where both these teams do lie, starting off with the Portland Trailblazers. Portland Trailblazers have definitely done a fantastic job in a sense that not many people thought they would be in this position, but they currently are sitting just outside of the playoffs in the 9th spot in the Western Conference. So they actually have a record of 19 wins and 22 losses. That's a 46.3% win percentage there. And on top of that, they are 10-10 from home, 9-12 from away, and are currently on a 2-game losing streak. So very interesting to see from them there. Looking at actually, Portland, they definitely have surprised a lot of people, so great job for them there. They are hoping to look to get more wins under their belt to push them into that top 8. Now, they face off against an Atlanta Hawks team that have recently gone through a bit of controversy since they did trade Trae Young, but Atlanta Hawks do come in at the 9th spot in the Eastern Conference, so different conference, but they have a record of 20 wins and 22 losses. So that's a 47.6% win percentage there, 7-11 from home, 13-11 from away, and are currently on a 1-game losing streak. So very interesting to see. Now looking at actually Atlanta and also the matchup against Portland, it is definitely going to be an exciting one. But looking at where Atlanta Hawks do rank when it comes to rebounds allowed, we do see that Atlanta Hawks come in at the 26th spot, allowing 46.1 rebounds per game. So because of that, we definitely have seen Kamara actually go on the under, multiple times, but he does face off against an easier Atlanta Hawks team. So why do we like the under for this situation here? And a big reason being is that when we actually look at Portland Trailblazers in the matchup with them in Atlanta actually do a fantastic job at restricting rebounds to Kamara's position. So for that reason, we do very much like the under for this one for someone like Tumani, and we definitely see him going on the under here due to those reasons. Now, when we actually look at this matchup and looking at what the pros do have to say, we do also see that looking at rebounds allowed, they do have him for 5.5 rebounds, so it definitely does help us there. But they also have him favored for the under as well when it comes to the bookies. So bookies actually have him favored for the under, which I think is fantastic to see there. So coming into this matchup, it is definitely going to be an exciting one for sure. And looking at that, we also do see when it comes to the projection, it is a little bit of a different story, because the projection that they do have for him is actually at 6 rebounds, which is on the over. So we are going a little bit against the grain here, going on the under in this one. Since, we do match with the actual bookies, we aren't actually matching with the projection. Now, looking at this line and how he's performed over the last 15, we actually have seen him do a pretty decent job here and there. He's actually gone on the over, 50% of the games, or roughly 50%, which is 53. So he's gone on the under, 47%. So very, very even there. So coming into this one, it is just, I do believe, just based off the matchup, we haven't really seen a hot streak or a cold streak from him as of lately. It really does come down to matchups. And as we've always mentioned, the matchups are super important. And with the matchup against Atlanta, we should definitely see him go on the under here. So for that reason, Toumani Kamara, 5.5 rebounds for less, I think is a fantastic pick. All right, so getting into the next pick, we're going to be talking about none other than Dort. And this one is actually for PRA for 10.5, and this one actually is for more. Now, looking at Dort, we actually have seen him go in the over in 3 out of the last 5 games. Looking at those 5 games, we do see, starting off on January 5th against Phoenix Suns, had 17 points, rebounds, and assists there. Then January 6th, faced off against Charlotte Hornets, 9 points, rebounds, and assists there. Then January 8th, faced off against Utah Jazz, had 12 points, rebounds, and assists. Then January 10th, faced off against the Memphis Grizzlies, had 23 points, rebounds, and assists there. Then 8-point rebounds and assists against Miami on January 12th. So it has been very interesting to see. Obviously, looking at someone like Dort, we have definitely seen him go on the over quite consistently, 3 out of the last 5. But his average over the last 5 is also 13.8, which is significantly above this line as well. Now, OKC have themselves a very good matchup against none other than the Houston Rockets. So it is definitely going to be an exciting game there. But looking at where both these teams do lie, starting off with Oklahoma City Thunder, we do see that OKC do come in at the number 1 spot in the Western Conference. They've done a great job. They are also the number 1 team in the NBA in general, but they have 34 wins and 7 losses under their belt. Now they have an 82.9% win percentage there. They're also 20-2 from home, 14-4 from away, and are currently on a 4-game win streak. So very, very interesting to see there. Now, looking at this matchup, we do also know OKC face off against the Houston Rockets, and Houston come in at the 6th spot in the Western Conference. Now, they have a record of 23 wins and 14 losses. That's a 62.2% win percentage there. On top of that, they are 12-2 from home, 11-12 from away, and are currently on a 1-game win streak. So looking at both of these teams, both are very, very good teams. Obviously, OKC are a little bit better, but looking at Houston Rockets and where they do rank defensively, we do see that Houston come in when it comes to points allowed. They do actually rank 3rd in points allowed, actually allowing 110.8 points per game. Looking at assists allowed, they do rank 2nd, allowing 24.2 assists per game. And then rebounds allowed, we also do see that, Houston Rockets rank number 1. So they actually allow 38.1 rebounds per game. So they actually do a fantastic job there when it comes to Dort. And we definitely have seen, Houston continue to be a great defensive team. But why do we like the over for this situation? And the big reason being is that when we actually look at Houston Rockets, we do actually see that Houston Rockets do a really, really poor job at restricting points, rebounds, and assists to Dort's position. So for that reason, we are definitely liking the over for this situation here. We definitely see him going, pretty well in a sense that we should see him be able to score well, rebound well, and also play make. And we definitely see someone like Dort being able to take advantage of this. Now, looking at what the pros do have to say about it. Now, looking at points, rebounds, and assists, they have him for 10.5 as well. And they do actually have him favored for the over. So this is actually working out in our favor there. They have him favored for the over minus 137, which I think is fantastic. And on top of that, we also do know when it comes to Dort, we also do know that they, face off against a Houston Rockets team that also like to play fast-paced. So both of these teams, very, very fast-paced. Projection-wise, we do see that they have him projected at 13.9 points, rebounds, and assists. So it actually works out in our favor there because we do very much like the over, for this situation. And looking at someone like Dort over the last, 15 games, we've also seen him go on the over in 66% of those matchups. So that's pretty much almost 70%, which is why we do very much like the over for someone like Luguentz Dort. Not only is usage rate going to be there, but as we've always mentioned, matchups are super important. And with the matchup against Houston Rockets, where Houston do very much struggle against Dort's position, we should see Dort be able to take advantage of this, no doubt about it. So definitely, I think it is great to see that the bookies agree with us, the projection agrees with us, and also the last 15. We've definitely seen him have some great momentum. So coming into this one, we are definitely liking the over. So Luguentz Dort, 10.5 points, rebounds, and assists for more, I think is a fantastic pick. All right, so getting into the next pick, we're going to be talking about none other than Miles Turner. So Miles Turner, great player, and this one is for 15.5 points, rebounds, and assists, and this one is for more. Now, looking at Miles Turner, we have actually seen him go on the over in 3 out of the last 5 games. Now, looking at those 5 games, we see that January 3rd faced off against Charlotte Hornets, actually had 7 PRA there. Then January 5th faced off against Sacramento, had a 20 PRA there. January 8th faced off against the Golden State Warriors and had 18 points, rebounds, and assists. And then LA Lakers faced off against them on January 10th and actually had 14 points, rebounds, and assists there. Now, when we look at January 12th, we also do see against Denver Nuggets had a 21 PRA. So we have seen Miles Turner, as I mentioned, go on the over quite consistently. Now, looking at Turner and also this matchup, Milwaukee Bucks face off against the San Antonio Spurs. It is definitely going to be an exciting game between both of these teams, but looking at where both of them do actually lie, starting off with Milwaukee Bucks actually come in a pretty interesting position because they are at the 11th spot in the Eastern Conference. Unfortunately, they have done pretty poorly, especially with the way a lot of people thought they would do, especially with having someone like Giannis on their team. But they definitely have struggled quite a bit. Now, they rank 11th, as I mentioned. They have 17 wins, 23 losses, a 42.5% win percentage there. They're also 9-10 from home, 8-13 from away, and are currently on a 2-game losing streak. So, very, very interesting to see there. Obviously, looking at the Bucks, we do also see, when it comes to this, that Milwaukee Bucks have definitely struggled, but they face off against a Spurs team that haven't, because Spurs have been on a little bit of a roll, because Spurs come in at the 3rd spot in the Western Conference, and they have a record of 27 wins, 13 losses. That's a 67.5% win percentage there. And on top of that, they are 13-5 from home, 13-8 from away, and are currently on a 2-game losing streak. So very, very interesting to see from them. Obviously, looking at someone like Miles Turner coming into this matchup against Spurs, it is going to be an exciting one. But looking at actually Spurs defensively, we do see that they rank 7th when it comes to points allowed, actually allowing 112.8 points per game. On top of that, when we look at assists allowed, we do actually see Spurs also ranking, a little bit worse, as they rank 13th, actually having actually averaging 26.4 assists. And then rebounds allowed, we also do see that Spurs do a decent job, also ranking 9th, allowing 43 rebounds per game. So when we actually look at, a player like Miles Turner, why do we actually still like the over? Spurs rank very, very well. However, a big thing for us coming into this game is that when we look at Miles Turner, he's definitely had a very high usage rate, even against tougher matchups. For example, Golden State Warriors rank very well. He was still able to go on the over. Same with Denver Nuggets. And why is this the case? Obviously, Milwaukee Bucks have been facing some injuries, and there are some players that are expected to be out. And because of that, it actually does open up a little bit of the floor for Miles Turner to have that a little bit of a higher usage rate. But on top of that, we've also seen Milwaukee Bucks, the way that they have actually been playing basketball is that they've actually been going to Miles Turner and having to rely on him as well. Giannis is definitely back. Now, he is still, projected to be playing in this game, but Giannis still coming back. We definitely still see that Miles Turner's usage rate remains very, very high. And I think that's just due to the situation of it where actually, Miles Turner is played in a position or in sort of a role that has him grabbing a lot of boards, grabbing a lot of points, and grabbing a lot of rebounds in, kind of recently, and we definitely just see that playing out once again. Now, when we look at San Antonio Spurs, they are a great team, but we do also know that they do not do a great job at actually the power forward position. Now, Miles Turner does actually end up switching. Sometimes he does play power forward, sometimes he does play center, but coming into this matchup, we're not really focused too much on the per position basis. Where we really see a lot of value here is definitely due to the fact that Turner has just definitely seen an increase in his usage rate. The game plan that Milwaukee have been playing with has actually led to Turner having some great usage rate out there. So that's a big reason why we do very much like the over for this situation for someone like Miles here. Now, when we look at this matchup as well, we are expecting a pretty fast-paced game. And as we always mention, faster-paced game leads to more volume, and more volume leads to more opportunity to score, rebound, and assist. And that's what Miles Turner has definitely done so far. Now, when we look at what the pros do have to say, so obviously we have them for points, rebounds, and assists. Now, we have them for 15.5, but we see here that they actually have them for 16.5. So it is a little bit of a different line there. So it is kind of, difficult to actually go off that. As I mentioned, we have him for 15.5, so a little bit of a different line. But looking at the projection, we are agreeing with it. So the projection definitely does seem to have the same sort of, analysis that we do. We do believe Miles Turner's usage rate has been high, fast-paced game, all these things taken into consideration. We definitely see him going on the over here. And don't just, think about this game in general, because we've seen over the last 15, he has been able to put on quite a show, because we actually do see he's gone on the over in 60% of these matchups. So it's definitely worked out, in Turner's favor as of lately, and we definitely just see that continuing on here. So Miles Turner, 15.5 points, rebounds, and assists for more, I think is a fantastic pick. So getting into the next one, we're going to be talking about Jalen Brunson. So Jalen Brunson, great player. And this one is for 35.5 points, rebounds, and assists. And this one actually is for less. Now, looking at Jalen Brunson, we have seen him go in the under in actually 3 out of the last 5 games. Looking at those 5 games, you see on January 6th, faced off against Detroit Pistons, had 28 points, rebounds, and assists there. Then January 8th, faced off against the LA Clippers, had 36 points, rebounds, and assists. Then January 10th, faced off against Phoenix Suns, had 35 points, rebounds, and assists there. A 40 PRA against Portland on January 12th. And then January 15th, faced off against Sacramento and had 4 PRA there. So we've actually seen when it actually comes to, Jalen Brunson, we have seen him do a decent job, but he has still definitely gone on the under in most of those matchups. Now, when we actually look at this matchup, we also do know that Jalen Brunson's average is 28.6, so it is significantly below this line. But looking at New York Knicks, they have themselves a very good matchup against the Golden State Warriors. Now, there's going to be a great matchup, but starting off with New York Knicks, Knicks have been able to put on quite a show because they come in at the 2nd spot in the Eastern Conference. They have a record of 25 wins and 15 losses. That's a 62.5% win percentage there. They're also 16-4 from home, 8-11 from away, and are currently on a 1-game losing streak. So very interesting to see there. Now, when we look at the Western Conference, we see that they face off against the Warriors, as we've mentioned, and the Warriors do come in at the 8th spot in the Western Conference. Now, they have a record of 22 wins, 19 losses. That's a 53.7% win percentage there, and they're also 14-6 from home, 8-13 from away, and are currently on a 1-game win streak. So very interesting to see there. Looking at Jalen Brunson and coming into this matchup against the Warriors, we do also know that Warriors rank 8th when it comes to points allowed, actually allowing 113.2 points per game. When we look at assists allowed, they also rank 12th, allowing 26.2 assists per game. And then rebounds allowed, we also do see that, the Golden State Warriors also rank somewhat decent, ranking 16th, allowing 44.3 rebounds per game. So definitely very interesting to see. Now, looking at someone like Jalen Brunson and the Golden State Warriors, like the matchup here, we do see this one is kind of a no-brainer. Warriors rank very, very well at restricting points, rebounds, and assists. Definitely a little bit lower in rebounds, but for someone like Brunson, we don't really see that, having an exploit in that sense. But we definitely see him going on the under here. But when we also look at Golden State Warriors, we do know that they do a fantastic job at restricting, points, rebounds, and assists as well to Jalen Brunson's position. And we also do know on top of that Golden State Warriors, the way they do like to play, although it hasn't, translated to many wins, the way they like to play their defensive strategy is to stop the main player, the main star, as much as they can and have other players actually do a lot more of the scoring. So we are expecting a lot of the defensive attention to be on Jalen Brunson. Yes, we may see other players in this New York Knicks roster have a bit of a bigger game, and it can definitely take away from Brunson. But overall, we are focusing on Brunson, and for him at this line, we do believe it is a little bit overinflated, that now there's a lot more value actually to go on the under here. Now, when we also look at the pace, obviously Warriors are a faster paced team, but expecting in this game is that New York Knicks are actually going to slow down Golden State Warriors. So we aren't actually expecting an increase in pace in any sorts. But looking at what the pros do have to say, now this is where it does get pretty interesting, because they do have a little bit of a different line to us, as well as they do have him for 34.5 points, rebounds, and assists. So a little bit of a different line in that sense. Now, looking at this one, we do also know that when it actually comes to, Jalen Brunson projection-wise, we do see that they have him for the over at 36.4 points, rebounds, and assists. So they have him slightly for the over compared to our line. Obviously, as I mentioned before, it's hard to go off what the bookies are saying. And yes, over the last 15 games, he has been doing pretty well. Now, you do also have to realize Jalen Brunson in the last 15 games has faced off against much easier teams when it comes to defending the guard position. Now, Brunson has been able to take advantage of that, and that's one of the reasons why he has been able to go on the over quite consistently. But coming into this next one, we are expecting the under, as we've always mentioned, matchups. That's what's most important. And for someone like Jalen Brunson, we definitely see the matchup here leading him to the under. So Jalen Brunson, 35.5 points, rebounds, and assists for less, I think is a fantastic pick. All right, so let's get straight into the next pick. And getting to the next one, we're going to be talking about Robert Williams. And this one is for 6.5 rebounds, and this one actually is for less. Now, looking at Robert Williams, we do actually see, looking at those last 5 games, we have seen him go in the under in 4 out of the last 5. And looking at this matchup, we do also know January 6th faced off against the Utah Jazz, actually had 2 rebounds there. After that, January 8th faced off against Houston, also had 4 rebounds in that matchup. 3 rebounds against Houston Rockets again on January 10th off a back-to-back. Then after that, faced off against New York Knicks, had 4 rebounds on January 12th. Then January 14th, faced off against the Golden State Warriors and had 8 rebounds there. So very, very interesting to see. Obviously, looking at that, we have definitely seen a little bit of an interesting sort of matchups, and we definitely have seen Robert Williams struggle quite a bit. Now, his average over the last 5 is 4.2, so significantly on the under here. And as we see, Portland Trail Blazers have themselves a matchup against the Atlanta Hawks. Now, looking at both of these teams and where they do rank, starting off with Portland Trail Blazers, Portland have definitely, probably surprised a lot of people because they come in at the 9th spot in the Western Conference. Now, they have a record of 19 wins and 22 losses. That's a 46.3% win percentage there. They're also 10-10 from home, 9-12 from away, and are currently on a 2-game losing streak. So very, very interesting to see there. Now, looking at this matchup, we do also know when it comes to, Robert Williams, and also this matchup here, we see them face off against an Atlanta Hawks team that have been under a little bit of different light because they traded Trae Young recently, but they still rank 9th in the Eastern Conference, and they have a record of 20 wins, 22 losses. That's a 47.6% win percentage, are also 7-11 from home, 13-11 from away, and are currently on a 1-game losing streak. So very, very interesting to see, but obviously looking at this, we do also know that Atlanta Hawks defensively, when it comes to rebounds allowed, we do see that Atlanta Hawks do come in at the 26th spot, allowing 46.1 rebounds per game. So why do we like the under for this situation? And a big reason for this is that due to the fact that when we actually look at Robert Williams, we've also seen him, first of all, have a very, very low usage rate as of lately. And this is due to the fact that the way Robert Williams has been playing for this Portland team, he's seen minutes a bit restricted. On top of that, we also do know when it actually comes to Robert Williams, we do also see that, you know, when his position that he usually plays, center, power forward, we actually are expecting him, you know, to go in the under, as Atlanta do a great job against his position. So coming into this one, we do very, very much like the under for this one. Now, when we also look at, you know, the matchup more in depth and looking at what the pros do have to say, we do see something pretty interesting, because we actually do see that obviously Robert Williams, when we look at the rebounding line, we see that they have him for 5.5 rebounds. So we have him for 6.5. So there's a little bit of a different line there. So it is kind of difficult to go off actually what the bookies are saying, or kind of looking at that, because it is a different line. But they do have him projected for 5.9. Now it does say over here, but technically, since our line is 6.5, that is technically for the under, and we are actually agreeing with that. So we do very much agree with actually, you know, Robert Williams' projection here. So we do very, very much like the under that way. But what we also do see is when we look at the last 15 games, we also do see something pretty interesting, as we have seen that he's only gone on the under in almost 60% of those matchups as well. So, you know, it's almost 60%, pretty much 54%. So really, really close there, but we definitely still see that being enough to see someone like Robert Williams go on the under. And as you see right here as well, you know, the games where he has gone on the under recently has definitely been a little bit more skewed, and that's due to the fact that the way Robert Williams unfortunately has been played in this team is definitely lower minutes, lower usage rate, all these different things, and it's definitely taken a huge turn there. So coming into this next one, we do very much like the under for someone like Robert Williams here. Robert Williams, 6.5 rebounds for less, I think is a fantastic pick.